Hello, Ryan Garland. I am your host of the Paradyme Shift. I cannot wait to expose the true inner depths of institutional wealth building and how to dig deep into real estate investing. Hey guys, Ryan Garland here, founder and chairman of Paradyme, and as you guys know, I'm excited to always bring good and the best guests on, and I'm always honored to have the CEO of Paradyme, and we haven't really had him on much, and it's because he's my secret weapon. He's back there just making things happen and taking my vision and monetizing it, but also figuring out a way to make it work for the world and our investors and clients. But I think I want to really highlight his background through this podcast, and I think that'll kind of give you guys some more color on what it is that we do and kind of the pedigree of people that are involved here. And obviously you guys have listened to some of our past podcasts with the people that are involved on the development side, but you know, there isn't any reality TV shows that talk about, you know, how's the capital raised and how do these deals actually get done? Where does the money come from? And if you don't have the right guys back there to understand the language of money, you're never going to get a deal done. So, Mike, thanks for having me, buddy, and thank you for being part of my company. I love it.
It's been an honor to be associated with Paradyme, man. I was excited. You know, our first meeting, I was sold.
Oh, well, yeah.
Within by the second bottle of wine, I was sold for sure.
At Europa Village.
At Europa
good
Village.
Wine, too.
It was good wine.
It was great. For a Southern California wine, they do some pretty good. They do have pretty good wine.
It's hard to believe that was less than 3 years ago.
That's
right. From where we were.
Yep.
Once basically Paradyme Storage was like I fell in love with Paradyme Storage and obviously the security income fund.
Yep.
Security income fund for me was like, I understand that completely. We'll go rip the cover off the ball on that one, right? Yep. Then I'm like, Ryan, I haven't done real estate before. That's not my gig, man. I'm private equity, I'm investing, and big institutional money, but not a real estate guy. You're like, doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't matter.
If you know how to move, if you know how to manage money and can be compliant, you can continue to raise more money, and we can target the right clientele to really get to where we're really trying to go.
I know.
And that's always been kind of my model is, you know, I think there's a lot of people that are looking for fast returns, fast money, and that's not really investing overall.
Right.
Investing really is kind of a long-term play, and you have to have the infrastructure and the mindset going into any project for real estate, not just to make a bunch of returns right off the gate, but, you know, how can we maximize returns, but then keep the money, right? It's one thing to make the money. How do you keep the money?
It's a real different gig. So my gig prior to joining Paradyme was like I had a very short. My investors were all very, very short term. It's like month, basically 30 days. Yeah. How'd you do this month, right? That's basically what a hedge fund looks like. It's like if you don't make me money month in and month out, regardless of where the world's going, then you're not going to make it, right? So coming from that, where I started to trade and basically it's a 50-50 bet on day one. I don't think it's 50-50 because I'm not in it unless I think it's 80-20. There's a skew to that outcome, but in reality, it's 50-50, right? You just don't know. There's too many variables in the world, right? So the time frame, when you and I started talking, and like from my perspective, the time frame and the head start that we have, right? Just in the security income fund alone, it was like, okay, we got 25 or 30% equity ahead of us. That's a huge head start from us, from our perspective in making money. I'm like, okay, so stable. We got equity in. I get that. You're taking out at 12%, right? We're lending at 12% on average, right? With a short duration asset of 3, 6, 9 months, maybe 12 months, 18 months maximum, right? To me, that was slam dunk. That's where I fell in love with it. And then we started talking about storage, and I love that. I mean, I'm sort of a boat nerd too. You know that, right? Sort of grew up.
Well, you got your foil here. We're going to go wakeboarding.
Yeah, we're going to go wakeboarding. So I love spending time on the water. So you're like, wow, he's got a storage thing going. I'm like, okay, that's something we can scale.
Yep.
And so that, from my perspective, you knew your costs. Like, I know how many screws go in my storage units. I can do this across the country, right?
Totally.
And your vision has come to pass, right? We got Goldman putting in $500 million in, and I don't really love what they're doing, right? Because we can build 50,000 square feet every 100 days.
Yeah.
Right? Goldman's going to come in there with their people, and they're going to go for C type of buildings and put money into it, try to up it, right? But that takes a lot more work. And by the way, I don't know what those lease rates are going to be after they're done, right? So we have a clean product which we can build very quickly. I think that's the way to go. From my perspective, that's the way to go.
Well, so by the way, we haven't even told everybody yet on the podcast, we're literally live.
Yeah.
On McCulloch.
Yes.
During Desert Storm.
Yes.
We are sitting on a trailer with the podcast table.
Yes.
While there's a race simulator going on behind us.
Yeah, that's the noise.
And there's 300,000 people walking by. I mean, how cool is that, right?
That's cool. So 3:30 in the morning, we had our guys here at 3:30 scouting out where we are. We got 110 feet right along McCullough Boulevard with guys loving it. I mean, this is amazing. We didn't do this last year.
No, we didn't. I felt like we missed the opportunity.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, for sure. But, we're talking about the amount of people here, and obviously we're highlighting what we're doing out here in Havasu with the Barn Caves and the Family Office Society. And you announced things that I didn't even know you announced yesterday, right?
I kind of tested the waters, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Which we'll talk about, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, just today, I think we probably had $1 million that came in from deposits in the Barn
plus,
Caves.
What, 20 more buyers for the Barn Caves?
Yeah, I think we're
easy.
probably up to 20, right? But 100,000 guys, we had, at least that I talked to, 10 $100,000 guys to that, right?
Yeah, and I probably talked to 4 or 5. A lot of the people have been wanting to meet us.
Yes.
So this was a good call just to kind of create the exposure and show people that we're the real deal. You're not just talking to somebody over the phone and writing a check.
Well, I think your vision was, let's get the model of the Barn Caves out here so people can see it. That was a disaster. If they haven't seen the video, they need to go see the video.
I'll post it more online, but for those of you that don't follow me on social media, I posted a video of so we have a 4D rendering being made, and it's a private practice that is kind of a dying breed, and having people custom build every piece for a 4D rendering so people can actually see what this thing is made and how it's built. So it looks more realistic to what it is you're doing. So it's at to a certain scale. But it's about 19 inches tall, about 4 feet to 2 feet wide. And it was shipped in UPS. Or sorry, FedEx.
No, UPS.
Was it UPS? And it came from North Carolina. And when we opened the box, it was absolutely destroyed. I mean,
1,000 pieces.
Plastic was broken. I mean, it wasn't like it fell apart. I mean, it was like someone literally threw it off the plane and it just destroyed on the ground. It looked
like a tornado in a trailer park.
The wood box was actually broken enough. There were pieces were falling out of the box after they dropped it off
with boot prints on 3 of the sides of the box.
Gosh, and so at that point, man, I was frustrated. I was like, I'm done. I don't.
Yeah, you're like, Rev, I'm just going to call this thing off.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it.
It was done. We're done. Because the whole idea behind this was to create the awareness of the Barn Caves, and so we ended up getting down to it, and we come back from lunch, and all the rest of our team was literally 75% done putting it back together with glue.
Yeah, the team was amazing.
Yeah, I was like, man, talking about bringing back memories of being a kid and making plastic models, man. That's exactly what this was. With a bunch of adults doing it.
Exactly right. And they did a great job. Within 3 hours, they had it basically rebuilt. It was amazing.
So it was great. So,
teamwork.
So let's go back to a little bit about your pedigree, about your background, because I know we don't highlight a lot of you, but I think it's important that people really get to see. You really are dealing more on the fund management, portfolio management. Dealing with compliance. You're talking, I don't know how many attorneys that bill us every hour, every single day.
Yeah, as we get bigger, I told you, Ryan, you're going to have more bills.
Oh, yeah. Well, our attorneys' fees are more than our payroll. Right?
Accountants, attorneys,
Yep. So, and that's when you know your business is on the right track. But you want to have the professionals watching over you.
Exactly right, yeah.
So, it's let's talk a little bit about your Wall Street days. Let's talk about kind of how you manage money.
Yeah.
Really kind of the nature of why you even shifted from that to more of the family office, more private operator fund management side, and just kind of, doing exactly that.
Yeah, I did what a lot of people do, and they come out of college like, what am I going to do now? Type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Where am I going to go? Got a degree in finance from USC. It's like, okay, what's the next step?
Yep.
So I ended up basically at a bank, City National Bank in Beverly Hills. And at one point I was slinging boat loans down in Newport. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not gonna sit here and sling boat loans for the rest of my career. And so I'm like, next opportunity, I gotta get out of here, right? Yeah. Ended up basically a buddy of mine was at First Interstate Bank and was in the derivatives group. So that's a real great entry. At that point, derivatives were new. So I was able to sort of shimmy my way into that group. I was actually started out as the boss's typist.
Wow.
I was the secretary.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do as good as I can, but I'm not too good.
Yeah.
So I want to basically, as soon as I can get to the trading floor, that's ultimately what I wanted. So in about 6 months, Doug's like, yeah, it's time for you to go to the trading floor. Yeah, your typing is good, but it's not that good. So yeah, I ended up on the trading floor, and then I was trading derivatives at that time. And then we had a group, it was AIG Financial Products. Most people will know who they are, but big, they were huge in derivatives at the time. They stole our entire New York group.
Oh, wow.
So,
Your sales team?
yeah, whole entire sales team in New York. And so Doug came out and said, look, I just lost the entire sales team to AIG. Who wants to go to New York? And everybody else sort of dove underneath their desk as quickly as it could. I'm like, I was standing up with a phone in my hand going, yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that, right? Never been to New York. So that was really my first move to New York. And I was going to go back to business school. Got USC, UCLA, was going to go back. I'm like, hey, New York's, that's a better education.
Sure.
Let me go to New York, right? So that started me on the path, really, I was there for 10 years. Saw the advent of the big hedge funds. They were this is 86 to 96, that sort of time frame, right? So the big hedge funds were getting going, and I covered some of those. I was doing a lot, so I was sort of in the inside pocket for a lot of that activity. So I saw it, I'm like, yeah, that's really great. But I was, from a derivative perspective, I made a transition. I went from just pure sales to really, I'm like, okay, let me go look just on the debt side. Let me go work with the biggest CEOs in the country, the chief financial officers, CEOs, and bring them creative financing opportunities, right? Swiss Bank had a great Eurobond desk, and I was the guy talking to Coke and Pepsi and Ford and GM, the provinces up in Canada, bringing them billion-dollar bond deals, right?
HSBC, that type of stuff.
Yeah, all the big borrowers in the U.S. I was covering them for the bank at the time. But then I got bored.
Yeah.
Like it's not really what I want to do at the end of the day. And I sort of had this idea that I'm going to start my own asset management company. And that brought me back to the West Coast.
Got it.
And then transition, then it became, okay, who are the family offices? Who are the institutional players in this market? How do we break in? And it was a really interesting transition because we managed money for the Central Bank of China when we first started up, right?
Which is relevant for what's going on right now.
Oh yeah, I had a first class, ticket into China from about 96 to 2010.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So before China really organized itself to a great extent, I was working with the central bankers in China basically to help them write their securities laws, right? It was an amazing time to be there. But like everything else, we ended up starting a broker dealer. You and I talked, do we need a broker dealer? I had a broker dealer. They were coming in through my broker dealer to do bond transactions. So not only were we managing money, but we're also getting some of those transactions coming through my broker dealer, right? So really a great window into the development of China. But to be totally honest with you, I'm like, we've created an asset management group for the Central Bank of China. That's what we've done. And I'm figuring, by the time we teach them how to do this, it'll be over. They take it, yeah.
They did it for everything.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yep.
So
and you saw that ahead of time. You started exiting.
So I had to come in. So we ended up, one of those things, partnership went sort of this way. You take the China stuff, I'll take the global macro and the other liquid fixed income stuff. But what we also did through that is we made the transition from like a global macro strategy to more private equity, because these are late stage private equity deals that we're doing inside of China.
And growth.
Yeah. So that got me really into the private equity side as well, which is really relevant to what you're trying to build, right? So managing money, sort of high test. I was dealing with the biggest banks in the world, the biggest issuers, the corporate side. So doing all that at the same time, raising capital like we're doing now from some of the same names that we're going after now as an organization. So that was a really, really interesting time. So that whole thing from when I was sitting down with you, okay, what's Ryan's needs? He's going to need, how do you scale the company?
Yeah.
And before I joined Paradyme, that's the last thing I was doing. We were scaling multiple companies, primarily in Australia, taking those with 2 employees, brought it to 120 employees, brought the capital, the debt, the equity to it. So scaling those companies and bringing the right people into the right slots. That's a real art in and of itself, right?
It really is, and I don't think a lot of people understand how difficult that really is.
It's hard.
That's what we do.
It's hard.
And it's really two kind of departments, if you will, two different paths. It's raising capital and being compliant and building something that's truly
sustainable, right
for the environment.
Yes.
And then, obviously, then building it.
Yes.
Right? It's like, okay, cool, we got the money, but like, how do we actually park that money?
Yes.
And then, so that's the idea. Is how do we go from raising the capital to now developing the project. And then obviously there's compliance inside that department. So that's where I knew I have the vision on the development. I have the vision of where I want to take the company. But then now we're building something like, for example, the barn caves. It's so innovative. Nobody's seen anything like that yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not inventing the wheels. I've just kind of taken 5 or 6
You
different
don't
things
want
and
to
put
invent the
together.
wheel. That's what you don't want to do.
But we're just ultimately taking proven models and we're just bolting it all on together and creating our own brand and marketing into that. So we understand marketing and PR, and that's how we
exactly
created
right.
what we did. But ultimately, knowing our environment, right? With what happened with, let's say, all the fires in LA. We all know about the insurance on stick-built houses are going through the roof. Now, if you look at policies for still-built homes, single-family homes, policies are significantly lower. So from an affordable side, that's important.
It's huge.
So if we're depending on the demographics and the location that we're building these, that's one of the most important things to do. Now, I always tell everybody, one of the other things is that we wanted to create a model that is scalable, but we can white label where other builders and developers across the country can now buy our buildings, put their name on it, and they can build them anywhere they want in the country.
This is really an interesting point, right? Because what we're really saying is we're going to build up a whole bunch of IP.
Right.
In what we're doing here. We're going to, from an engineering perspective, the way we design these, and obviously Stephen Beagle, fantastic. So there's going to be a lot of very, very embedded IP, which you talk about businesses creating moats. That moat for us is going to be our IP surrounding how we deliver 700 of these things to somebody else doing another project, but we're delivering the units or one, right? So that I think.
Exactly.
I think we're the Barn Caves is providing that for us. So a lot of it's an established product. We've engineered it down to, but there'll be second and third generation engineering aspects for this, and that embedded IP is going to be very valuable for us. I see that as being that's almost the killer app in a way, right?
Well, now you're focused on the manufacturing side,
yes,
right? So that's additional revenue for the brand. And that creates sustainability. So ultimately, the takeaway for investors is say, well, look, they really are private equity. They're rolling in multiple revenue streams that all kind of feed each other.
Well, and we're seeing, look, the conversations I'm having, I don't know if we should say the name, but the conversations that we're having with the big New York banks, they see that.
Yeah.
I had a meeting, head of credit for the entire bank, the biggest bank in the U.S. I took him through the business model. What we're doing is I love it. Yeah. I love it. So
that's
it's
not
like
normal either.
That's not normal.
No, it's not.
This is not normal, not at all. He's like, I love it. I want to do something without. Again, he's like, that was just he bought into our vision in terms of what we're doing, and the segment, whether it's barn caves or storage, that sort of thing. He loves the idea, and then what the strange thing is, he's like, I love the secondary markets.
Totally.
That's where you guys are. Yep. I love that idea, right?
And he loves the fact that we're focused on healthcare, retirement, baby boomers, and spending habits.
Yeah.
The list goes on, and then we're catering to almost every demographic in essence.
Correct.
Just depending on what kind of finishings we want, how big the units are,
Correct.
and so forth. But I think he saw the value in kind of our target market and was like, that is right up the income stream for mass production.
Right.
And that is kind of that forward-thinking design, knowing what needs to be in place that we were able to implement.
But this is the most conservative bank in a lot of ways, the most conservative bank in the U.S. The other thing they did was super smart is they went on our website. So they got a very good picture very quickly of who you are, right? So the second guy, the guy in charge, put me to another guy, and then he did his due. He said, like, I really like Ryan. I love what you're doing. The way you put yourself out there and you market, and that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
And he bought into that. It's like that from that perspective, I understand your marketing, right? Yeah. So for them, it's going to be a numbers thing. Okay, well, where are we in this, and what's the cost per square foot of a tuner product, and we're going to be at X, whatever leverage they're going to be at. So yes, ultimately it'll be a numbers game, but the fact is I haven't seen that before where they literally just say, and I told you, like Ryan, I downplayed it because I didn't, Ryan doesn't believe me. Ryan's not going to believe that they're going to jump over through hoops on this one. But they did.
Yeah.
They did.
100% they
right.
did, yeah.
And then we've got another family office looking to do the same thing.
Yep.
So, but that's the next generation. That really, from our perspective, we bring the right debt piece and the right equity piece to this. And we've got, from that discussion, I had another discussion with a family office in Orange County. They're like, I love it. let's go out to 3 of my other family offices, and we'll be the first loss position on this.
Yep.
So that's where that goes. And then all of a sudden, we got $100 million worth of debt, and we got the equity, and then off we do. Right now, our pipeline is 300. Well, it's more now.
Yeah.
It was $365 million worth of projects.
That's actually
before this weekend.
But yeah, right, yeah. Well, I didn't tell you about that meeting I had with the city. That was just kind of to feel them out. I asked for everything under the stars.
Yeah.
But they bit down.
Yeah.
We would be the first mid-rise. Not to change subjects too much, but I pitched a 550 unit project that's 100 feet tall. That 7 stories, podium, parking, retail at the bottom, trying to anchor with some sort of grocery store, health store, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what people want around here, but we need that type of... They're 12,000 units short here, based on the last market study, so there needs to be more housing.
Right.
There needs to be more housing in that attainable level.
Right.
But we can design a product that just supersedes anything else that's out here.
Right.
And because of how much energy is going to the north side, they were like, this is impressive. Especially when 600 acres just got sold yesterday for $10 million.
Exactly.
Right next to us.
Yes. Exactly.
That's a big deal. But the reason why I think they approved it or are interested to approve it is the fact that there's no other homes in the area to complain about the height or what product we're building.
Well, it's the right spot.
Yeah, and it's inside the same parameters of the mall, and retail feeds off body count and foot traffic.
Correct.
So to see that mall thrive, bringing in that many bodies, that many souls, really creates a buzz around town. And some of the guys were just walking there. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Were you really serious? I'm like, how did you know I pitched that? Nobody even. So the city's so small.
The city was talking about it.
They're going out talking about it. Yeah, for sure.
The city talked about it.
So, I mean, it's kind of impressive to hear. We have a good reputation that goes a long way.
Well, I think that's a lot of it, too. They've seen our product. They've seen what we're doing out here, and they love the Barn Caves product, number one. So I think that goes a long way. And let's face it does go a long way. You have to have a track record, right?
Well, when you have a big institution and they underwrite, their underwriting guidelines is rather insane.
Strict.
It's rather, and they do care about culture. They want to know how many people have been in your company and what's the longest they've been with your company, and they want to just kind of understand your culture. They want to look at your longevity. They want to look at your sustainability. They want to just kind of get a better feel of who we are as well.
Right.
So even though, yes, they're a numbers game, they do care about a lot of other things, like what's your relationship with the city? How are your approval process?
Oh, yeah.
How many projects have you done with them?
For sure.
Do you have any political relationships? Like, it does matter.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that, but it's true. And that's where I see a lot of guys out there trying to get into the game, and I try to tell everybody it's 100% a relationship game with your clients, your investors, your staff, employees. Yeah. With the city, the community, you have to play that card too.
Sure.
So if you're not doing all of the things that it takes, they're going to see that, and so that's why Family Office does, and they understand. They're not dumb. These are very sophisticated,
very
people.
Smart guys. But at the end of the day, I think everybody underestimates the amount of energy and time and commitment it takes to build a business.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. I think it's literally the hardest thing in the world to do is to take something from nothing and build a successful business around it. It doesn't happen. It never happens with one guy.
No.
Right?
No,
it just can't. You got to have a visionary, and energy and vision. Right? Yeah. That's what it takes, and sustainability.
And tenacity,
you got to go. I mean, you got to wake up every morning and think about what you're going to do, how we build it. Yeah. It's a 24/7 process.
And you got to be patient.
And you got to dream about it. How many times the conversations we've had is like Ryan was in the shower and something came to him. It's like, okay, this guy's thinking about it all the time.
On a morning Monday call with the whole team, hey, I'm in the shower, guys, thinking about this.
Exactly. So that's what it takes, and I don't think and that's why people give up.
Yeah.
They don't have that. They don't have that drive to be able to, and people, you fail.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a big part of it. You just have to have the mindset that I'm going to make this work. And then you have to bring people around you that can elevate what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm really looking forward to sort of taking this from where we are now and really sitting down with you. Okay, now we've got another 2 or 3 huge projects out here we're going to have. So we're going to take this company and we're going to turn it over again.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And
100%.
we're just going to keep growing, getting the right people in and develop. Our development side of our business is incredible right now. It's incredible.
We have an amazing team.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that's on our downline, from architects, engineers. Our engineer did the Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
Yes.
Down to our architect Pentagon. I mean, it's just wild. Yeah. We do have the right pedigree. And it was funny. I was talking to a guy earlier, just kind of, hey, where did you get the idea, and how did you convey? He listened to a couple podcasts previously. And I said, look, I think a lot of operators, guys like me, they don't understand the importance of hiring a really good architect. So they may cost you more money on the design side up front, but they're going to get things done on time normally.
Yeah.
And then they're going to come to you with different building methods that'll actually save you millions in the long run.
Yes, because they've done it before.
Yeah,
it's
they've
not
seen
their
all the
first
things that
rodeo.
are wrong, and they've worked with so many different contractors, and everyone kind of has them. They're like artists. They're tattoo artists almost.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of has their own way of doing things, and
Correct.
And when you have an architect who's been in business since the 70s, and he's bought multiple companies and seen different brands around the country, and certain areas work and things don't work, and he's bringing all of that knowledge to the forefront and going, hey, this is what you're paying me to do is create something that you want to see be done, but here are other ways that you can build it and save money, and in this environment that is absolutely key. And so people go, well, man, you're spending a lot of money on the front end. Yeah. Planning is where you make your money. Your acquisition and your planning is where you make money. If you aren't planned well, you're going to have a problem.
Correct.
So I think at the end of the day, I think our support, though, all the people that come by, I mean, our tent has been busy all
day long.
For 12 hours.
All
it feels
day
like this
long.
thing has not been stopped or slowed down. So I think ultimately, we're not only getting a ton of support, community support, the people that have seen us, wanted to see it live in real time, people that are like, oh my gosh, now I can see what the vision is, and I'm interested to dive in.
But I think also the way that and you're thinking about things in which I think is the correct way, you're building an ecosystem around Paradyme. Right. So you got the storage, you've got the barn caves, which is housing. You're going to do a family office society, which is a private membership club. We're going to have an amazing 32,000 square foot gym that's going to bring in outside people, private membership gym, right?
Yep.
All those people become part of your the Paradyme ecosystem, and they feed on one another. You're in the family office society. It's going to be, the wealthy people out here, and there's a lot of money in Havasu that want to have a place to go, hang out, put an office there, hang out with our golf simulators, the F1 simulators. So you're creating basically like Apple would call it their ecosystem, where you stay within the Apple system, and you're doing the same thing, and we're doing the same thing here with Paradyme in terms of our projects. Right?
I don't know if I ever told you this. Maybe I have, but one of the reasons why I think the gym's close to my heart. No, I love health and wellness. I've been working out my whole life, but so in 2008 when the market crashed, to this day I tell everybody the reason why I was able to put food on the table is because I had built relationships at the gym. Where I would go to the gym and all of us would talk. And they would send me a deal here and there, and I was literally surviving on deals I was making.
Well, you're hilarious at the gym, by the way. You're hilarious. You can spend, I work out whether it's back in Tennessee or out here. I go work out with you. Literally, you're on the phone the entire time.
Oh, yeah, the entire time.
Or people are interrupting you, wanting to talk to you. I'm like, he's got less workout that I've ever seen anybody spend an hour and a half at gym. He's done like four exercises. Been on the phone the entire time, right?
I just throw in the towel. I'm like, okay, I'm out here.
It's a relationship builder for you.
The only thing I can, 100%. And what's crazy is people will overhear my conversations. Or people will know who I am. They're kind of wanting to listen. And then it gives them an in to have a conversation.
So
it's crazy because a lot of people, they can relate where they're in the same similar business. And so I couldn't tell you how many people were like, hey, Ryan, I'm a framer, or I'm do this, I'm this. And you know what? Send a bid.
Let me ask you a question. So where do you think you got that marketing side of you? Where did you develop? Is that something you developed? It's something you already had. So you're a guy that people. Well, first of all, people are attracted to you anyway, naturally, right? So that's great. Okay, you've got the charisma, and you're open. You have sort of that openness about you, right? But you develop relationships very quickly. People trust you, and of course they've seen you. But where did that come from? I mean, is that something that you've had?
I think I genuinely enjoy marketing. I love that. I love getting behind a camera. I like goofing off. I like to build memories. So that was kind of. I'll kind of give you maybe a deeper dive background. But as my mother left, right when I was 6 months old, I reconnected with her in 2017, and I documented that. That was really I really started truly loving marketing as I documented this journey of mine.
Why did you? Why? Why would you document that?
At that time, I was flying back and forth a lot to Santa Monica because I was doing a lot of stuff in Beverly Hills. So instead of drive 3 hours from Temecula to Beverly Hills and then come back like 3 days a week, I had a guy who worked for me that also was, and this was in the real estate lending space.
Yeah.
He also was a pilot for Virgin.
Okay.
So he's like, hey, dude, I've been flying forever. I can do fixed wing. I'll actually help you get your license.
Yeah.
And we'll do all of our flights and we'll do all of our stuff and kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
So I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
So I was flying from Temecula, 12-minute flight from Temecula to Santa Monica. 12 minutes. So I loved it. So
yeah.
The point is that when I was having my second son, and I kind of had this come to Jesus kind of thing, and I just thought, like, if I'm traveling all the time in a little plane and I die, I want my kids to know what forgiveness is. At that time, I was kind of going through this forgiveness thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wanted my kids to know that. So what I did is I reached out to my mother and I documented the whole entire kind of story of me reconnecting with my mother.
Yeah.
And I had her come out and I picked her up at the airport. When I picked her up, I had the whole camera following me, the whole thing.
Yeah.
What happened was it was such a cool video that the way it was edited, it came out better than my memory of the actual event.
Okay,
right?
interesting.
And so I can look back at that and I can feel that memory.
Yeah.
Just like wedding videos or photos. You look back, it's so impactful.
Correct. You put yourself back in those pictures. Those are your memories.
And it's very fragile yet just very.
But from an emotional level, that's a really deep place to be emotionally, right? So even having that, a lot of times,
a purity to that humbleness and to that brokenness, right? And And what happened was when I went live with it and I put it out in the world to see, it took root. And I got like 20 million views in like 4 days.
Yeah.
But the amount of responses and video and messages that I got, I tried to read all of them. I inspired people to go do that for themselves, whether it's their brother, their father, a cousin.
It's completely authentic.
Yeah, it was just inspired. And so the ending part was, I'm so glad that I did it, regardless of the outcome. I wanted to know. I'd rather know than not know,
And that put you in front of the camera for the first time.
It did. And so being vulnerable is very hard.
Yeah.
Because, marketing and being vulnerable, it's just hard no matter what. With your best friends, it's hard to be vulnerable for your best friend.
Yes.
So to do that to the world, knowing I'm going to be judged from every which way from Sunday, but it was really for me, and ultimately it was for my kids.
Yeah.
But I did put on social media because I knew I had a lot of people that I think would appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it just took root. So, but I never got negative feedback. It was just such all positive feedback.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew my business exploded from that personal side.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, wow. I got probably 30 or 40 loans. I built real estate relationships.
So what year was that? Let's
that was in 2017.
2017. Okay.
So, and then I'm like, cool. And I start raising capital. People are like, I really like this guy as a person.
Yeah.
I want to invest. And that's what happens. People invest into you. People invest into you. They're not investing into, just the project, which it is. Because numbers got to make sense. All the ducks have to align. But they ultimately invest into the operator. You can invest into anything. There's so many things on social media. You can find a guy invest in these apartments, invest into this, invest in this. But what you realize is these people are investing into us. Yeah. So I knew that by being vulnerable and being okay with the negative impact of some or negative responses, just because people are bad, horrible sometimes. Yeah. But I'd get more positive than negative. So knowing the impact of my business exploded. I mean, I made $1 million that year.
Yeah.
And that was really awesome. And that really kind of helped me jumpstart the growth of the company because I'm like, well, shoot, man, if I just keep this up, where am I going to grow? And that's what I did.
Okay.
And so it really started with my relationship with my mother.
Yes.
And then being okay with putting it out there, but really kind of making it set up for my kids. So if I were to pass away, die in an airplane, they're like, this is who Dad was. So the documentary was longer than just my connection with my mom. It's about who I am and my beliefs and so forth. And then I cut it down to that, and so I have a longer version. But then when I did that, and it really changed the way I looked at how to scale my business, and it was free.
Yes.
That was a post on social media. The power behind social media is undeniable.
Well, that's what you said when we first met. Yeah. You're like, Wall Street hasn't caught on to this yet.
They are now, though.
The crowdfunding side, they don't quite get it, and that's an opportunity, right?
Totally.
Yep, it's an opportunity.
Yep.
Then I'm like, okay, because that wasn't part of my world, right?
Right.
And you said, no, this is important. Yeah, this is how I built the business, how I scaled, and no matter what happens globally, whatever, this is another source of capital for the company. That's it's not going to go up and down. It's not a numbers thing as much, right? I think people see through the camera lens to you, and it's an authentic thing, and that's the way they build trust with you.
Yeah.
You go to Wall Street, and they're going to say, "Oh, where are the numbers here?" They're going to, they'll bust it down 9 ways to Sunday, then they won't invest. Right?
Yeah.
That's typically what happens. You're going to have 18 or 20 or 30 of those meetings. Yeah, and you're going to go through the attorneys and their CFOs and their this and that, right? So that's a whole nother sales pitch. Okay, they're bigger checks, right? And at some point, the pipeline just gets you there. They can't say no anymore because your pipeline and you've delivered for your clients. So that becomes a transition, right? We're going to go through this. You're going to raise your money, and then ultimately from there, these are 10, 15, 20, $30 million checks that will come from there, right? So that's where we are right now as an organization, right? We've made that transition to something different.
We are getting bigger checks.
Oh, yeah.
But we're never going to stop building relationships in the way we would, because
I don't think you can stop.
I don't. Yeah, it's I don't want to say a lifeline. It's like our DNA. Really, our business has been around the smaller retail investor that doesn't really know what to do and doesn't really trust a lot of people, but they can reach out and touch us, and they know Lake Havasu, and and so they believe in the community, and so on and so forth. So and then my family's here. My dad's on site all the time. We call him the Karen, right? Cares too much.
Yes, exactly.
He's out there picking up cigarette butts and so forth. It's making the place look good. Honestly, my dad is great.
True. Yeah, he's awesome.
And my dad raised me, so it's always nice to have my best friend, on site watching over my project.
Riverside County Sheriff.
And that's the best part is that's also a family-oriented business, and I think a lot of people connect with that too. So, but again, going back to the smaller retail investor, the family office, it is again in our DNA, and I don't think I would ever want to get away from that because. Think about some of these people that invest. These are sophisticated people. Because it was a smaller dollar amount doesn't mean anything really. They're our biggest sales team.
Yes.
These guys are out there pitching Paradyme, and hey, you got to buy one of these barn caves, or hey, you got to buy a storage unit, and then it's just like you nailed it. It has created an economy. Yeah. Now we're creating a military of people that are protecting their money by referring people to our product when we're on the exit.
Correct. Yeah.
And now you just have a huge. Think about it. Any company has 400 employees. It's pretty sustainable. Yes. That's what we have. Is 400 people that love what we're doing and have supported us, and we create a high level of transparency that makes them trust us. So, I think.
But also the cool thing too, Ryan, and I think you hit on this very early on. It's like they're also sort of our family. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
From a trust perspective.
We say in every email, we're like, "Welcome to the family."
Yeah, no, we know everything about these. Well, not every one of our investors, because we have way more now than we had previously. But a good percentage of these investors we really know pretty well. We're having multiple conversations a year. How many kids? What's the wife's name? All this stuff, basically, we know, which is great from that perspective, right? If it's a $15 million or $20 million check out of Wall Street, who cares, right? Those aren't the discussions that you have. It's like, how did you do last quarter?
Well, so that's another part of the conversation. I don't think I've ever brought up on a podcast. I think we do it internally. So, what's happening is because our team, is so involved in the day-to-day, even from the investor relations side. They're having conversations with these investors and building relationships, and you can't help if we've all have our hardships.
Oh yeah.
And when these investors open up to you, you can connect to them, especially if you've had similar hardships, divorces, death in the family, illnesses, cancer scares, cancer. It's just really hard not to connect and have compassion for people's hardships. And everybody has hardships. And I think what's happening is the team is waking up every morning with a purpose. It's not just about you getting up and going to a job and making a salary and going home. Like, there's no real meaning to that anymore. People want more. And our team definitely is not that team.
Exactly.
These people want to elevate in their lives. They are go-getters on in their own personal lives. They work hard. They build businesses. These are all truly top-notch people.
Yeah.
And there is nothing better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think right now, ultimately, what we need to do is just continue to build awareness on all the stuff that we have cooking, and just continue to build these relationships and tell people who we are and what we're doing, and just welcome people to the family. And again, our team's just waking up every morning with a purpose, and with that, in essence, bulletproof vest. Yeah. We got to fight for our people every day.
Well, you're right. Even here, we saw it with an investor that we've been, he's like, I just don't, I had to come here and see it.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to be on a phone call. I don't want to be on an email. I want to come here and see it. So he shows up. He takes a look at the barn caves. He's got it. It's like, I'll get it. I get it now. I'm going to get, I won't say the number, but he's like, I'm in.
Yep.
And then his buddies standing right behind him and say, wait, you're in?
Yeah.
What is this?
I'm in.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Police, firefighters,
Yeah.
and that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Those, and like you said, those are your best advocates.
Yep.
Once they truly understand what we're trying to do, and it's not a cookie cutter. We're not building 1,900 homes in Ontario or something like
Right.
that. We're building something that has a personality.
Right.
It
100%.
has a presence. It has, it's really cutting edge stuff, which is what I love too.
Totally.
I love being at sort of cutting edge of
If we're
what
not
we're
innovative,
doing.
we're going to fall behind.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
have to be innovative. The world's moving too fast. I use that as an example. In 2020, look how fast the world moved.
Yeah.
If we aren't moving that from our business
Yeah.
side, if you look at politics in general, they're moving mountains.
Right.
If you aren't moving mountains every day, we're
Yeah.
going to fall behind.
And I think, too, if you look at the geopolitical landscape, and this is what I do, I spent all my career looking at 24/7 what's happening around the globe and where the risks are. I don't know how many times we wrote in our SIF write-ups about, hey, this is going to be about hard assets.
Yep.
If you got to transition away from financial assets, they're getting expensive. You got to go back to the basics. Let's get real estate. It's got to be, whether it's creating income from it or investing in it, putting your money there. We were pushing this pretty early on, seeing sort of where this was going to go, and we're seeing it now, right?
100%.
So people are coming to us saying, look, I just don't want the volatility, man. I can't take it anymore.
Yep.
Oh, you're going to give me 10% per annum on secured income fund? I like that idea. Tell me more about it.
Yep.
You're going to 2.2 times your capital in the barn caves. That's a 4-year investment. You know what? I like that because I don't have to deal with the volatility in and out. I just want to put my money to work. I trust you guys. You've done it before. You have a track record. I get it, right?
Yep.
So they don't have to worry about this stuff, right? It doesn't matter what's happening between the U.S. and China, right?
Yep.
And I think that's the way that, from my perspective, that's smart investing.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Yep.
Right?
So, all right, buddy. Well, let's end it there because everyone's leaving. All the cars leaving us. We're gonna have to get
Let's
on
wrap it up.
We'll do a second one.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll get some feedback from all of our followers and go from there. But hey, guys, if you guys want, first of all, thanks for listening. Thank you for all the support. If any of you guys want to hear anything specific that you want us to talk on, we can dive into any type of weeds you want, whether it's tariffs, politics. There's ways that we look at things maybe a little different.
Yeah.
But we are data nerds in reality. So thank you guys all for your support. We love you very much. Welcome to the family if you're new to the team. And hope to see you guys soon.